All right, Sal Capaccio joining us on the Western Hotline. World Series rolls on. Great performance from the Jays in a Game 5 win, back for Game 6 in Toronto. Coming up, they can close it out and win the World Series.
I saw Ohtani is 0 for 7 in his last 2 games since he got on base 9 times in Game 3. They figured him out.
They did.
The picture of him swinging and missing with the helmet falling off at the same time as Savage is walking off the mound. Yeah. I said yesterday the Guerrero Ohtani picture needs to be a statue. I think this one also needs to be a statue.
It is funny.
2 statues at Rogers Center that feature Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah. Savage walking off the mound as Ohtani is striking out is kind of like when Steph Curry turns around when a 3 is already going in.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sal, good morning. How are you today?
Pretty good, guys. Pretty good. I think that game going so late really did impact Ohtani. He's known to have 12 hours sleep per night. Really.
I saw that, meant to bring that up.
12 hours sleep.
I cannot imagine sleeping 12 hours consecutively.
I know, me neither.
I don't think I've done it in my life.
Every night, too.
I know, right? Well, especially now. Yeah, you're never going to do that. Now you have kids, buddy.
Right.
But, yeah, I actually do think that it impacted him. It certainly impacted him, I think, on the mound the next night.
Yeah.
But I think the last 2 nights. So I bet you he has a bit of a resurgence when they go back to Toronto and they have a day off. That would be my prediction.
He'll get 18 hours of sleep today, just kind of catching up on a travel day.
18 hours.
Yeah, right.
All right, Sal, so let's get to the injury report, what's going on with the Bills, and comments yesterday from Sean McDermott and Josh Allen, among others. It's Chiefs week. It's a big one. I saw Deion Walker said on One Bills Live there's a bit of a maybe added intensity this week, the rookie kind of picking up some vibes. But heading into this game, what's the rest of the mood down there? Maybe a rookie notices a little uptick, but for the Bills, they'd be through this many, many times, of course, with the Chiefs and with other big games.
Yeah, for sure. It's hard to. We asked Jordan Phillips the same thing. Like, he's been through these games. It's people say one game at a time and every game is the same. Is that really true? And he said, you want to say yes, though it's the Chiefs, right? But you can't let that get into your preparation. You still have to do everything the same. You stick to your process. You stick to what you do every week to get ready for an opponent. It doesn't matter what the logo is on the side of the helmet. You're still scheming against what they do and who they are personnel-wise. You're not playing against the Chiefs record. You're not playing against the Chiefs Super Bowl rings. You're playing against the 2025 Kansas City Chiefs. You're playing against Patrick Mahomes and Chris Jones, and that's what you have to do. And I think anybody would recognize the stakes of the two teams and the highlight of it. But I always, years ago, guys, I think this was a bit more of a thing like to think about for the Bills, but they're so used to being in big games now and playing night games and, playoff games. So I don't think so. I just know that, they know they're playing the Chiefs and the Chiefs know they're playing the Bills. Patrick Mahomes, did you hear what he said? He's like, they don't like us in Buffalo. We know that. Like, they just don't like us. So, I think everybody understands that.
So, Sal, what's going on at linebacker? We got some injuries, players coming back, and McDermott was asked about Terrel Bernard and Matt Milano. And I feel like it's murky what they might do here.
Yeah, do you want to go through the injury report first, or do you want to
sure.
talk about
let's do
that
that
way
first.
We can kind of set it up and lay it out. So, so yesterday, Daquan Jones and Joshua Palmer did not practice, and not much of a surprise. They've missed, some time here, and Sean McDermott called them week to week, so we know that's the case. They also listed as limited. By the way, also not practicing was Ray Davis, but he was sick. He had an illness. Okay. They also listed as limited with a vet rest day, Jordan Phillips and Joey Bosa, and we were told they were going to do individual only and not take team reps. Same with Shaq Thompson, we were told, but then it shows up on the injury report that Shaq Thompson was listed with a hamstring. So you wonder, did something happen additionally? Now, I will say he did some media after, so generally that's a sign that I'm not too worried. You know what I mean? Okay. That he was talking after practice some media. When it comes to Terrel Bernard and Matt Milano, both full participants, great news. You can see them. I had the video of them over at Sal Sports. People want to see that. So that's encouraging. But I thought it was notable when Sean McDermott was asked about the linebackers specifically, Terrel Bernard and Matt Milano and coming back, and then specifically about Bernard, kind of, and I'm going to paraphrase, like, is it his job when he comes back? Is he the starting middle linebacker as soon as he's healthy? And Sean didn't say yes. He didn't say no. He basically said, Terrell sees things like a coach. He's a leader out there, and he's where he's supposed to be or whatever. But there's always things that we all can improve on. So I just thought that was interesting, right? Because I don't think any of us would argue that Shaq Thompson's been their most consistent linebacker this year. He's probably been their best linebacker this year. I don't think Terrel Bernard is having his best season. I think it's notable that Sean McDermott said it that way, to be quite honest with you. Now, it also could be because you want Shaq Thompson and Joe Andreessen and Dorian Williams to keep fighting every day for as many snaps as they can get, because that's great to have. Because that's competitive right there, right? But I do think it's interesting that last game, Terrel Bernard suited up, but he didn't play. And at the end of the game, Sean McDermott said, well, that was medical more than anything else. But they didn't play him. It was Shaq Thompson. And then you get that quote yesterday.
The question I would have, Sal, is like, of all the opponents for them to prefer Bernard, I would think, like, wouldn't this be one of them?
You mean to play him this week?
Yeah, you'd prefer.
Just because the Chiefs are
not a power run team. Like, if it's Baltimore, right, I'll listen to it. If it's the Colts, I'll listen to it. But you're going to need. I would think you want your best coverage linebackers in this game. And if Bernard were available but not playing, like, that would surprise me.
I agree. So I wonder if it's a week-to-week basis game plan thing.
Mm-hmm.
That could be it too. And it could be down to down, guys, right? There's nothing that says they can't play all of them or both of them or whatever, right? And we know that. So I wonder, or does it just, hey, that's Terrel Bernard's spot. When he's healthy, he's in, and we play it from there. Could be that. I agree with you, though. Now, no Isaiah Pacheco most likely this week for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Right.
I know people say, who cares? They're, they run by committee. Right, but that matters. You're taking away their starting running back. But I will say they might have to play a little differently because Kareem Hunt is different than Isaiah Pacheco. And if Kareem Hunt is their starting running back, he is a more straightforward type of running back than Isaiah Pacheco. So they might play a little more physical, or try to, at least for the Buffalo Bills. But I do agree with your point, Jeremy, overall, yes, about Terrel Bernard and about Matt Milano.
All right, Sal. So other things to watch. Gabe Davis activated or moved to the active practice squad from practice squad injured list, right? Because with the elevations of Jordan Poyer and Jordan Phillips signed to the active roster, they had spots on the practice squad. So Gabe Davis on the practice squad now, which means he's elevation eligible. And maybe we're all just reading too much into it, Sal, but do you think there's a likelihood that Gabe Davis would be elevated for this game?
I do think it's possible. By the way, I did not mention that Matt Prater showed up on the injury report with a calf injury, right calf, as limited. It could have been something that happened at practice yesterday. It could have just been that he was sore and they just listed him at the end of it because they took a couple reps off. We'll find out more today. Just want to throw it out there. As far as Gabe is concerned, yes, we've been talking. I've been telling you guys for a couple of weeks. Said it yesterday when I came out with you guys. At some point, Gabe Davis is going to get on the practice squad. And sure enough, it happened a few hours later. He's out there. He's practicing. We talked with him after practice. He said he feels good. He said he's been running for a couple of weeks, and he's been doing a lot of running, actually, and he feels really good. He said that, when they want him to play, he'll play. But that's to the people upstairs and the trainers and the coaches. Is it possible Gabe Davis plays this week? Yes. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I would sit here normally and say, they're going to give it some time. But they did this with Max Harrison last week. He played right away. So I'm going to think that it's possible. I don't know if it's likely, though. That is still a position where, to me, different than corner, and I know Gabe has been here, but I specifically asked him yesterday, like, what about getting back acclimated to the offense and Josh? And he did remind me and everybody, he left for a year and learned a whole new offense, right? And then he comes back to Buffalo. So I do think you have to at least have that little bit of, okay, is he on the same page as Josh? Get those reps. It could be this Sunday. They could elevate him. What does that look like around the roster? I'm not sure. Joshua Palmer's going to be out most likely.
Yep.
That gives you 5 receivers. Gabe could become a 6th. Would then you only activate 5, and then would Curtis Samuel or Elijah Moore not play? People assume it's Tyrell Shavers immediately. I wouldn't do that. Tyrell Shavers plays special teams. I don't think Gabe Davis is covering kicks, right? I mean, I just wouldn't see that. So I do think it's possible. I don't know how likely it is.
Is it Elijah Moore in that spot or Curtis Samuel? I mean, I don't think we're getting all the way to like Keon Coleman's a healthy scratch, but there's no doubt that right now, like the conversation around Coleman, it feels like it's turning a little bit from a conversation about the group and maybe more kind of focusing on the fact that the reason the group struggles so mightily is because Coleman right now is just not giving them what they had hoped he would.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Last week, the way that the Bills handled personnel and the changes they made, and this includes what happened at linebacker and the fact that, not going to say Bernard didn't play because what Sean McDermott said was, hey, it was medical and all that. I get it. But, they made some changes, and Max Harrison played, and Jordan Hancock played, and I wouldn't doubt anything it wouldn't be on the table at this point, to be honest with you. I think it would be super stunning to me still if Keon Coleman was not active for everything you said. I think they still believe that he can be a difference maker. They just have to figure out, the best role and where to put him and how to use him and things like that. And he's got to be able to win. There's no doubt about that. But I wouldn't be surprised at anything at this point, guys. I mean, the changes and things that they did last week tell me that they're willing to make changes if necessary.
Yeah, the thing I just mentioned, Sal, last segment was that, like, what Davis might be for me is he's an opportunity to take Coleman off the field if you feel like he isn't earning the snaps, because he hasn't really been playing well, and we've known about these disciplinary things that have happened a couple times, but he still plays a lot. And is that just because they don't feel like they are comfortable with the alternative? Well, now they have a guy that we know historically are comfortable with. So I same thing. I don't think Coleman becomes like a healthy scratch. I just wonder if Davis could eventually start cutting into his playing time.
It's possible, right? First thing has to happen is he has to be elevated. And then what does it look like around the wide receiver? Because, again, Joe, if you do that, the only thing is who's coming out. Is anybody coming out, right? And then you have to – and then depending on that, let's say someone comes out and you only go with 5, including Gabe and including Keon, and then what does that snap share look like, right? So there's probably a lot of moving parts. I don't disagree with you. I just – I think everything is on the table at this point and what they want to do here and how they want to play it going forward. We'll see. So they have until 4 p.m. Saturday, as you guys know, to make any elevations or changes to the roster. But right now, because Jordan Phillips and Jordan Poyer were signed to the 53-man roster, and Gabe Davis was activated to the practice squad. And by the way, that does count for people who are wondering. I looked into this yesterday. He does count as one of the 8 IR to return designations they get for the season. So they've had 3 now. Max Harrison and Tylan Grable immediately counted when they went on IR. But I don't want to sit here and say like anything is not possible at this point, because I think last week again they were willing to make some changes.
Yeah. Sal Capaccio. Anything we missed, Sal? I mean, it's a big week. It's Chiefs week. I don't want to focus too much on, injuries or this or that or other things that came out of yesterday's press conference, whether it's, Josh Allen, what he had to say about the matchup, what McDermott had to say. Like, anything we missed?
No, I think a lot of it was looking back, talking with guys about the impact of Hoyt and Ogunjobi.
Okay.
And so many guys like talking about Michael Hoyt and like what he really does for this defense. And it's what it was. I feel really good about the fact that, for weeks I was saying, man, I watched what they did with this guy at training camp and, preseason. And I just think they really have a plan. And that really kind of came to fruition. But now the Chiefs see it on film, right? They're going to have a little bit more of a plan of what maybe the Carolina Panthers had and how that goes. I think some of the storyline is on the other side this week, too, guys, with still no Josh Simmons for the Chiefs. Their excellent left tackle. He's been away for personal reasons, and a lot of questions about what's going on there. No Isaiah Pacheco, most likely, right? So looks like Trey Smith is going to be back, but he did practice yesterday. But, their offensive line's been a bit banged up. So I do think both sides here have some questions to answer, health-wise and roster-wise going into Sunday.
What about Bass, Sal? Could he be healthy right now?
Good question. So he could, because he's on IR, he can't practice with the team, as you guys know.
Right.
They have not opened his window to return, so he can't practice with the team. That doesn't mean he can't kick on his own. He's a kicker, right? He can go out and he can kick, and he can even go off to the side and separately kick with someone holding for him.
He can come closer to practicing his position than any other player.
Yes, that's exactly right, Joe. So let's just say we find out today that something did happen to Matt Prater, and he might not be able to kick. The Bills could activate Tyler Bass. He could go all week and not practice, and suddenly we just find out he's on the roster at 4 p.m. on Saturday, and then they'd have to make a roster move, obviously. But yes, he would be an option. He could be an option depending on what his health status is. Yes, or in that case they could go out and obviously sign somebody else like they've already had to do earlier this year.
All right, Sal Capaccio on the Western Hotline. Thanks, Sal.